Welcome to another episode of Leaders in Construction. I am your host, Daniel, and today we have a very special guest on named Joanne. She's been in business since 1990. I'm going to pass it to her and let her speak her mind.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yes, I've been in business since 1990 as an interior designer. At that time, I had worked as an interior designer before that, and I worked for a company that it was the 80s. And in the 1980s in the US, there was so much money around that it was crazy. We would import, I worked in Connecticut, and we would import people from like the Metropolitan Museum to hang fabric on the walls. I'm talking fabric that was hundreds of dollars a yard, which is not much these days, but back in the 80s, it was a lot of money, and cloth of gold buttons to be installed on it. It was an amazing time to be an interior designer, but it was also kind of crazy. So when 1990 happened, my bosses, who were quite successful out of New York City, said, "Oh, you know what? We can't afford to pay you anymore." And so I was like, "Okay."
What do I do
And
now?
right, right. I was like, "Well," and they said, "Well, you could go on your own." I did have a few little clients I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Both my parents have their own companies. It's a lot of work. I don't know. I don't know. Wasn't really counting on working for myself." But they encouraged me, and I did have a few clients that were really good, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll just work directly with you." And that's literally how I started. And so when you start in 1990, when it's the absolute bottom, there is no place to go but up. And that's kind of, how it's been. You ride the storms, you stay with it. You don't worry when times are really good. There's 1,000 people a minute that become interior designers, and you don't worry about it, because then what happens when the roller coaster goes the other way? They're no longer designers. They're going to be something else, real estate agents or something. And you're still there. So that's kind of been the story of my company. It's been a great ride, very successful in whatever venues that I've chosen, and it's a really interesting time to be in business now because it's completely different than it ever was.
Yeah, I'd like to actually expand on that a little bit now. What do you think the main difference is now starting a business in comparison to back when you first started?
Well, I really feel for young designers. I think there's a lot of noise just generally in the world. Literally in 1990, I think I had a website maybe just after that, because when I went to design school, we didn't use computers, and then the second I graduated, we did. So I went back and I took like courses in AutoCAD and things like that for design. So it was right around the time when literally the internet started. I know it sounds prehistoric, but there was none of this stuff. And it was kind of, I got published all over the world because my sister, who was quite a bit younger than me, she goes, "Oh, we're going to get on this. We're going to make you a website." And she did great. She told stories. She had pictures of my work. I always had professional photography, a must for almost any industry you're in, and it's worth it. I literally got a little loan from the bank and paid my photographer, and it was worth every penny of it. And then we got published all over the world because literally there was like just a few people on the internet. Now there's so much noise. There's so many people that I God love them, but they say like they have expertise in almost anything. Like, and then the next minute they have expertise in something else. Now that might have been the case before, but not everybody knew because there wasn't a vehicle like this. So I think that is probably the first thing. The second thing is AI. And as of the last few years, that's just such a major change for everyone. And I'm excited about it because I think designers really have the important job of making sure people remember who they are, who we are as humans, and connect with your source. And then how is your interior, whether it's your home or your workplace or whatever, how is that going to enhance that all the time? Because all the time we have distractions should we want them. And the same with companies. I'm just doing a really fun commercial job that it's very important to have spaces that people want to go to because they don't have to go really. They can find 100 different jobs. And it's a pretty high level aerospace company. And so they want to attract talent. So if you want to attract talent, you not only have to have a great company that does great things and has their values, but you also have to have a great interior and offer some things so that they're going to want to go there and produce and can work for the highest and greatest good of your company.
Yeah, I fully agree. The noise that is around these days in comparison to, I mean, even 5 years ago, but even more so, you look back 20 years and compare the distractions. We're in a whole different world these days, and it is very important. One thing you did mention was getting on the internet quickly when you first started. And then I almost feel like you compared it to AI now. What are you doing moving forward in the AI space, or have you started implementing it?
Yes, yes, we have. Even as a smaller company. Well, luckily, that same sister, who's still quite a bit younger than I am, it took onto an early adopter there, and she trained it for my company, for my ethos, for all that stuff. And I, even as the owner and I'm a senior designer here, but I have other senior designers. I use it for all kinds of things. I use it for contracts. I put in last night, I was like, oh, I don't know about this budget. And I put in the drawings and it came up with all information. It could be scary, but I feel like don't let it be scary, but be sure that you double check everything and follow the rules and the guidelines. And there again, there's a lot of noise about all of that too. So you got to keep yourself clear. Like, what do I want? What's my goal? And keep training it so that it's serving you. It's serving you. It's serving you. This is who I am. How can you help me? I'm not you're not my master. I'm your master.
That's perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
you can just input absolutely anything into, even just the most basic thing like ChatGPT. I mean, it has a wealth of knowledge that not one single person can obtain by themselves. And I think it's not only important, but I think it's necessary moving into the AI space, because if you don't, you will be left behind. It was just like you said, it was very similar to when the World Wide Web finally popped its head, and people were like, nope, we don't want to use it. We're going to stick to pen and paper. Where were they 5 years later? So I think keeping up with that is a very necessary thing.
I just did a proposal for something and I was like, well, I don't know. It's pretty easy. You could probably do it off the top of your head. I was like, no, no, I just think I'll put it in there. And I kind of had the numbers in my head a little bit. And because I'm doing it a long time, but numbers now too, with since COVID, everything is exponentially more. And so I just did a quick in it and the numbers were exactly the same. It's right. And it's like 20 minutes and it wouldn't even taken 20 if I had believed it. I kept, asking it more questions because I'm like, I'm not sure about that. And it's a game changer and you will be left behind. You are left behind already, I think, if you're not at least doing the bare minimums of things.
I couldn't agree more. Do you use it for anything other than quoting, things like that? Are you well adept with using it through CRMs, or through marketing, or through automation?
Well, we just more recently have a CRM and it does have AI as well. And I do not do it, but I don't really run that part of the company. So yes, that it's involved there. It's involved. I also use it for writing. I write myself, then I put it in AI and I say, always use my voice. I'm very specific in what I tell it. And then I wouldn't say I rewrite it, but I do adjust it and make sure that it's 100% my voice. And my particular one, I got lucky. She really trained it in my voice and my ethos. So I'm pretty confident about it, although you have to be so careful of all those words. So I do use it for some writing as well. Writing quotes, making lists from floor plans, just all kinds of things. And the people that work for me, like that do my drawings and stuff, they use it for all kinds of things as well.
It really has cut down so much of the work that we have to do manually.
Crazy. Like I go back, I double check and triple check and everything, and they're really pretty accurate now.
Amazing. Yeah, they're amazing. All right, so we're going to move on to a little bit more about what you're doing at the moment that is working, what isn't working. That doesn't have to be just AI, obviously, but what are the trends that you're seeing at the moment? What are you implementing for growth, and what have you seen work and not work?
Boy, that's a big question.
I can cut it into smaller chunks if you like.
Yeah, chunk it down a little. Like for market, yeah, like my mind went big. I'm a real creative. I go like, oh, gotta go big, go large. So
Okay,
cut it down to like one thing at a time.
that's
For
perfect.
marketing or
Well, let's go a broader spectrum so you can sort of take the direction that you like. What are your small, medium, and large goals for the company?
Well, we just opened a new office in South Florida. We also have our office in Connecticut, which serves, well, actually, I was going to say it serves the Northeast, but there is no such thing really because we all work virtually. So we're all virtual. Although I'm in South Florida and I primarily like to stay here. I actually enjoy it. As crazy as Florida is, kind of similar to Las Vegas, but it's got the sun every day. And so my major goal right now is to develop uh, clientele down here. I have worked out here a long time because my clients, I literally have the first client I ever got was in 1990. She was my client. I did 4 houses for her. So many of my clients that I had in the Northeast always had places down here in South Florida. So I'm familiar with working here, although I didn't never went about getting a full on clientele down here as well, or worked on getting jobs or alliances with other contractors, with other architects, with other designers. I didn't do any of that. I'm just starting to do that now. So my goal is to just get more work in this area and continue to attract, in general, just work that really aligns with who I am and what I want to be now. And when you're younger in your company, yeah, I mean, the earlier stages of your company, not necessarily physical age, you go like, oh yeah, no, I'll do it. It's money. And then I think actually, you know what? The younger generation, they're better at this initially. They're like, this aligns with me and this doesn't. And then for me, I did a lot of things. Oh yeah, and I'd try it and stuff. But now I really mind. What do I want? Who do I want? Who do I want to work with? The second the things are kind of out of line or something, then they're really not my clients. And that clarity, I think, as you grow and get confidence in not only who you are, who your company is, and what you believe in, I think like that's I'm just going for the jobs that align with that. And I have found that it actually has exponentially attracted different types of jobs that are really fun and good because they're in alignment with me and my company.
Here's the next question for you then. Do you think you would have the clarity without going through the many, many years of taking everything you can?
I just find so many people like do have a lot of clarity. I think I grew up in a certain time that you took a lot of stuff like you had believed it. Now there's nothing you can believe in.
I'm not going to touch that subject.
Truthfully, I mean, really, I guess, truthfully, it was probably all lies we were fed too. Who knows?
Yeah.
But well, actually, too, we were activists in the 70s, you know, um, but it was just a really different climate, and you did a lot of stuff. And I have nieces and nephews, and I just adore them, and they are just not like that at all. They're like, this is what can do, this is what I will do, and this is what I'm going to do. And when they really stick with that, it works out just great for them.
Yep.
They're thought leaders and professors and all kinds of really interesting stuff because that's what they believe in and they stick to. So for me, probably, yes, I had to go through trial and error and stuff. But, there's amazing mentors. I had great mentors. I continue to have mentors. And now, like, I guess there's coaches, but be careful of coach and mentor. Find people that are I don't know, find the givers. I mean, and that doesn't mean you don't have to pay them, but there's the givers of the world that are going to teach you stuff that you're not going to learn as a 7-step process to being shinier. I don't know. And, I just think that you have to really mind that as well. And when you do, I think you do that well when you really know who you are. And I do find a lot of people are much more conscious. They're conscious about food, they're conscious about air, they're conscious about the earth, and it's so great because that's the big thing about me right now is like I'm very conscious of all that. And there's so much you can do for my particular job on the interiors. There's so much you can do to help people with that, to live better lives, to not have, well, I won't go down this road, but there's like diseases and things that are caused by chemicals in your house and just all that whole health genre. I used to call it health, but it's like called wellness now. And there's just so many things you can do that don't have to cost tons of money. They have some cost to them, but they don't really because then you're not sick. So you're fully functioning, you're working, your kids are happier, they're not having learning disabilities, and all this kind of stuff is avoided. So actually, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really cost any more money. So does that answer your question? Because I think I forgot the question because that
No,
is
that's
something I
right.
could go
That's
I could go way down the road
right.
on. how we're supposed to be living so that we can really attain our higher selves and remember who you are.
I think that's a big thing, actually. One thing that I noticed, obviously, I was on the other side of it. I was the one swinging the hammer. You were the one telling me what to do, I guess. But one of the things I noticed big time in the last few years was the transition towards spaces. There was a lot more wellness spaces added in. You know, we're back 10, 15, or even 15, 18 years ago when I first started, there wasn't any of that. I mean, we'd only just gotten into sort of the open plan living style of building, and you'd never heard of a wellness space or anything like that. So I feel like it is something that we are diving deeper into these days, which is
Absolutely. And meditation rooms and, you know the old gyms are now, like, really combination spaces and really diverse kinds of even even working out is so exciting, like, it's so different than it was. You need all the things, you don't need just one thing. You need to have all that, mind, body, soul, and I think those spaces, when you're lucky enough to have separate spaces, that's great, but you can have them all in one space or you could have them all in the corner of your room and figure that out as well. And that's the important part is having that, being conscious of it, being conscious that you are directing yourself. How's your interior gonna help you? And so I had a feeling you were talking maybe about commercial spaces as well, where now we have like, wellness places, meditation places, we have places for small groups, places for individuals. And so it's a very different environment than it was and
good.
much better.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's a lot better. So, just touching on all of that, what are you doing at the moment for your business to market to those people and stay away from the type of jobs that you necessarily don't align with? Is there a strategy that you're using that you're finding working well or not working to attract the right sort of clients?
I just heard, I don't know, I just listened to this on Build It. Do you know that podcast? It's
Yes,
called
yes.
Build It. I love that podcast.
Yeah.
And I listened to it. It's an older one with the guy who started MailChimp. And they just sold it for like $12 billion like a few years ago. However, they started together, and it is the best interview I think I've ever heard of a real entrepreneur. He was basically, well, then we had this monkey because my parents kind of liked the monkey, and I think we had a monkey or something. Every single thing he talked about seemed to haphazard, but what it was his authentic self. So I am writing more than I ever have. My newsletter, I changed kind of the look of it to be more ethereal, and I'm a meditator of quite a few years, and I like study it, and I really have gone down a whole different, because for health reasons, I went down a different eating route, which changed like how my heart was, like literally my heart blew open and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm just a regular designer. How am I gonna appear?" And I just am starting to change and really step into that. Like, well, you are more ethereal, you are different now. So really step into that, write about it, write about circadian rhythms, write about the things that you find interesting. And lo and behold, the people that I already had as clients are really enjoying it, but also the people that are in alignment with me are really enjoying it and really understanding it. So I think writing and putting it out there and, I still go for the more classical things. Like I do have some social media but I also get in magazines and I speak and I do different things so that I'm seen in this whole like interior design is like exponential now, and our job, even from the building side, is completely different. You can use the old methods, or you can ask, do you want this because it doesn't have formaldehyde or whatever you guys have, that things that like poison everybody. And we as designers were asking the questions, but even underneath that, even fundamentally, you have to start asking that and start directing that. And that's what I'm writing about. Just how can you do it? What are fun little ways? Like I have a meter that measures sound, that I'm way into controlling like the acoustics of your environment and or any sounds at all, and the air quality. And there's all little gadgets that cost like $20, and you can do it. I like bring my plants in when my air's not that good in here. Like if it's
Yeah.
a little off, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bring my plants in. So there's like such easy fix to make you live a greater life and to make you have more energy and to make just everything better so that you don't get dragged into the sort of some directions that are happening outside of us that we don't really they're not nice.
Couldn't agree more. So what she's talking about here, if you do head over to interioredge.com, you can actually go to your blog and there's a few beautiful ones in here. You know, we've got, like you just said, the power of circadian rhythm and interior design aligning for your home and optimal well-being. There's another, a legacy in pages, custom bookcases for life well lived. I mean, head on over there, guys. Check out exactly what she's talking about because you will be blown away. And I think it's really aligning with what she's talking about. She's not only talking about it now, she's writing about it, she's living it. So I think that's a major point, and I think it's a big reason that your business is successful because you've got I guess, a mantra to live by. You're not just floating through trying to make money. You're trying to create a brand around the things that you believe in. So I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. I did get advice from a guy who was very successful. And he told one of my clients, and I said, "Oh, I didn't have any clients." And I was like, "Well, how do I get clients?" He goes, "Take care of the clients that you do have." And whenever I see like, "Oh, do we need more jobs?" I said, "Okay, what are we going to do to help the clients that we do have?" And if you always do that, you will always have work.
Exactly. Okay. On that note, what metrics do you use for the direction of your business? How do you know, like, what metrics are you using to, I guess, gauge success in the future of your company?
All these questions are pretty big. Well, I have a finance team, so we have financial goals, of course. And you can't worry, the biggest thing with financial goals, especially if you're not seasoned in business, don't worry about it if it's a little down. Take care of the clients that you do have. Take care of your writing. Take care of going in your direction, and then they come. And I think as an entrepreneur, and the reason why I didn't want to be one was because you could get like the fear in there, and you just have to tell yourself, no, now's not the time for the fear. If you want to have fear, have it some other time, and just go about your business the way you should be doing it. So there's financial. There's for me, it's about at this point in my career, it's just about lining up, being happy, putting together teams. I love a good team. Like I have something that's kind of like a little bit of a stickiness on this one project, and I was like, "Who can you bring in that knows about this?" And
Listen,
luckily, I
by
actually
the way,
know.
listen to exactly what she's saying. Who can I bring in? Sorry, keep going.
Yes, it's huge. Most of the time, they come and they give you advice, like, for free, most of them. But even if you have to pay, so what? You're learning something, and it's easier. You're not making the mistakes of doing the wrong thing or going backwards or getting in trouble. Like, I'm gonna knock on wood when I say this, but I really have no problems with my clients for the whole 35 years, and I'll tell you why. Not that there wasn't problems, it's just how you resolve the problems is you don't let it get to. And I grew up in retail furniture, and the customer was always right. So my clients are always right. And I go with that premise. And even if when I was a young designer, like, $5,000 to me was like a million. And I'd be like, "Oh god, how are we gonna get through this?" And then if you just go like, "They're always right. How is this gonna happen? Who can I ask to come in and kinda help me fix it or change it or make this right or what is right?" Sometimes you're not sure you think you're right, then they're not right, but they want what they want, and that's way more important than what you want. How am I gonna do this? If you always stick with that, then it works out, and then you get the next job and the next job because that's where I think the rubber meets the road. I mean, people just go like, "Oh, they're wrong or something." They're not wrong. There might not be we might not be seeing eye to eye, but let's work on it together. I am juiced by working with other people, by working with teams. That was one of my goals for this year was to establish new teams down here and better teams in other places. We work all over the United States, and we go there usually at the beginning of the job and the end of the job. And I have teams if they need a project manager or they need different things. I have teams. And so I did a project in Raleigh, North Carolina this year. And it was just the most divine experience because we had such a great crack testing team, and they had the great people. Because when you align with one, then usually their teams are all in alignment with them. So that works out for us. And that's what I'm all about right now is just creating great teams and being in alignment with the teams and the clients and getting everything done. And it's really important because of what happened with pricing and how it's like crazy more expensive. In my mind, I used to go, "Oh, times 2, that's what it'll be." And now I go like, "Times 4, that's what it'll cost." And so if you have the alignment and stuff, you can work a lot of other things out and hopefully hit your budgets and stuff to the best that we can. We can't control everything.
I love one of the things you said earlier. Sometimes it might cost you money to get that second opinion in. But I think that's where everyone, especially when they're starting out, there's a difference between it costing money and it adding value. And you really have to distinguish that with the advice you take. Is it value or is it cost? And I think that works across every single thing you do in business. It's a cost versus value thing. I think that is one thing that people really, really need to start concentrating that are just starting out new. So if you are starting out new, find value, period. And I think that will drive your company to where you want it to go.
And don't forget to breathe when you go, "Okay, I have to bring someone in." Then it's like breathe, and then you call someone, and they say it's $500 or whatever it is, $1,000,000, and you're like, "Oh gosh," and then you're gonna gulp, but then breathe through it and go, "Okay, let me get back to you." Always have good advisors. You know, what other my dad was a CPA, and, so I was really lucky on that, not knowing I was lucky, he was my dad. And he said one of the first thing was to get a banker, and so then I work with some young designers, and I'm like, "Well, who's your banker?" And they're like, "Banker? It's a app." I'm like, "Well, there's people in there." So if you get yourself a really good line of credit, mine is an unsecured line of credit, I don't know if they still do it, they probably do, then when you run into things, you know that you have your own back, then you get other people that have your own back. Breathe through it, and maybe there's another solution if, like, the solution you're looking at is like, "Oh, this is crazy, I don't really wanna spend that." There'll always be another solution, so take the beat, breathe, go for the walk, do the things to take care of yourself, and the alignment will come, and always feel it, like, if you go, "I know this is a lot, but it's the right thing to do," then that's what you do. Always listen to you, and as well as if you're not sure, all your advisors, and you should have great advisors, including maybe more senior people in the industry who can give their advice.
Huge, huge. So just on the line of credit thing, this is probably going to be one of our last questions, unfortunately. But for the audience, this is something that you don't have to share. But through your time, have you had a percentage number or a set amount that you would spend for your marketing to attract new clients in comparison to what your overall annual income would be? So, like, if you don't mind sharing with the audience, you don't have to, of course, what the annual income of the company is and how much of that you actually set aside to keep your business growing to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve with the new teams and things along that line.
No, I don't mind, but our company is we kinda look at it as a few years at a time because in 1 year, you might not have a lot of income because 'cause you're working on bigger projects, and then the next year, it's higher. And no, I don't have a percentage of because I came from the place where you do things organically, you get out there and do stuff. I will say this, I still do not spend hardly any money on advertising, maybe none, I would say, but I get published. I'm out in front of places. I donate to places. I show up for foundations. I show up for people that need donations. I give my time to, so they can auction it off at the silent auction and all that stuff. I say it doesn't cost money, but all that does cost money, but I'm not out there with Facebook ads and stuff just because it's not me. Not that it's wrong, there's every different way to do business. I think you should do what resonates with you, but that's not who I am. So I have a very small budget on it, but I have a huge budget on giving back and helping people. For many, many years, I helped a nonprofit organization design all their houses for people that were mentally and physically challenged, and I did it for free. Then I was on the board of directors and stuff like that. And that's how I choose to do it. But it's certainly not for everyone. It's also, if you have to remember, I'm a residential and specialty commercial designer. So that's kind of my genre. Whereas if you need to get a lot of clients, then that's my way is not going to work for you. But I don't need a lot of clients. I need really good clients and loyal clients and ones that recommend me to their friends.
So you would say you would spend sweat equity on building a good network rather than throwing out a bunch of ads. Especially starting out young in business, this is speaking to all our listeners, obviously, is if you are starting out, your number one focus shouldn't necessarily just be on I need to up my revenue. It should be on, I need to build my network. I need to get in front of the right people and I need to deliver when I get the chances from these right people. And I think you're a perfect example of building out a network that is solid, building out a network that aligns with you, and using that to create a business that's doing big numbers year in, year out. That has been going for 30 plus years and still sitting, still sitting very pretty. So I think that's huge. I think that's something that everyone should really focus on instead of chasing revenue, especially to start with. Chase networks. I mean, they say your net worth is your network.
You got that right.
Mm.
And what you're good at. I'm good at talking to people one on one. That's what I do well. So I every city I had offices in Connecticut, then I had offices in Manhattan, offices in the Berkshires when I was younger. When you had to have a physical space, and I would just join a network group. Sometimes like a professional network group, or sometimes a local network group or something. And I would just immediately do that, and then you see who's what, and it just goes from there immediately because that's something that I'm good at. If I wasn't good at speaking to people or didn't love that, like I just love how people are, then that wouldn't have worked for me. You would have to figure a different way.
Exactly. Oh, well, unfortunately, that is all we got time today, but I am going to give you the microphone for one last time. And please tell the audience where they can find you and any closing statements that you would like to say.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been just so much fun and in total alignment with my goals for the year, meeting good people and teaming up with them. And it's interioredge.com, interioredge.com. And we have all our buttons on there that you can press and connect with us on all the social media.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And go out there, get it done. And as we said earlier, your net worth is your network. So build that network. Thanks, guys.